Working harder feels like the safest advice anyone can give you. It sounds responsible, it sounds disciplined, it sounds like something successful people would say. If you want more money, you work more hours. If you want a promotion, you outwork everyone else. If your finances feel tight, you pick up overtime, a side hustle, or freelance on weekends. At first, this strategy works. Your income increases, your confidence rises, you feel in control. The formula seems simple: effort in, money out. But over time, something changes. You notice that the increase in effort produces smaller increases in results. You stay later, yet your paycheck barely moves. You take on more responsibility, yet your lifestyle feels just as fragile. You sacrifice rest, relationships, and health, but the financial breakthrough never quite arrives. You begin to feel tired in a deeper way. Not just physically tired, but structurally tired. As if you are pushing against something invisible. Most people internalize this tension. They assume the problem is their mindset. They think they lack grit, strategy, or intelligence. They watch motivational videos that tell them to wake up at 5 in the morning, optimize every minute, and hustle harder. And for a while, they try again. More structure, more intensity, more discipline. But the returns continue shrinking. That shrinking return is not a character flaw. It is a mathematical reality called diminishing returns. On a whiteboard, imagine a graph. The horizontal axis is hours worked. The vertical axis is income. In the beginning, the line rises steeply. Your first job creates income from nothing. Your early promotions feel dramatic. A new certification might increase your salary by 20%. The slope feels encouraging. But then the curve begins to bend. Each additional hour produces less income than the previous one. Each promotion requires exponentially more effort for a marginal raise. The line that once shot upward begins to flatten. This flattening happens for simple reasons. There are only 24 hours in a day. There is a limit to your energy, focus, and health. Even if you are ambitious, you cannot multiply yourself. Labor income scales linearly. 1 hour produces 1 unit of output. 2 hours produce 2. Even if you increase your hourly rate, the structure is the same. You are trading time for money. The equation always ties income to your presence. Now draw a second line on the whiteboard. This one represents capital. Capital behaves differently. Capital compounds. 1 unit becomes more than 1 unit over time. If you invest $1,000 at 10%, it becomes $1,100. The next year, you earn 10% on $1,100, not just the original $1,000. The curve bends upward, not downward. This is exponential scaling. Labor grows in straight lines, capital grows in curves. This is the aha moment most people never fully see. You scale labor slowly with time. You scale capital exponentially with ownership. If you rely only on labor, your growth will always be limited by your personal capacity. If you introduce capital, growth becomes detached from your daily effort. The system you operate in does not emphasize this distinction. Schools train you to improve performance. Study harder, test better, work efficiently. The message is consistent. Your value equals your output. Jobs reinforce this by rewarding productivity. The more you produce, the more you are paid. But even high performers operate within a capped structure. A salary band, a role hierarchy, a market rate. No matter how hard you push, the ceiling exists. This is why just work harder becomes mathematically wrong beyond a certain point. It assumes infinite scalability of effort in a finite human body. It assumes that doubling effort doubles results indefinitely. It ignores the curve bending on the whiteboard. It treats linear tools as if they are exponential engines. Consider two people earning the same income. One spends everything and relies purely on future raises. The other allocates part of that income to assets that produce returns. In year 1, their lifestyles look identical. In year 5, the second person's capital begins generating noticeable income. In year 10, the compounding effect accelerates. The gap between them is no longer about effort. It is about structure. One person stayed on the linear line, the other stepped onto the curve. Debt makes the math even harsher. When future income is already committed to loans, the effective return on extra effort shrinks. A raise disappears into interest payments. Over time, funds past consumption. The harder you work, the more you service obligations rather than build assets. This creates the illusion of motion without real progress. You feel busy, but not ahead. None of this suggests that work is useless. Work is foundational. Work generates the initial capital. Work builds skills. Work creates stability. But work alone cannot create exponential outcomes. It can only create incremental ones. The mistake is believing incremental growth will eventually turn exponential without a structural shift. The exit strategy begins with reframing effort. Instead of asking how to work more hours, ask how your hours can build assets. Instead of maximizing income for lifestyle expansion, maximize it for capital allocation. The goal shifts from consumption to ownership, from spending raises to investing them, from trading time for comfort to trading time for leverage. Leverage is the bridge between labor and capital. A business system is a leverage because it produces revenue beyond your direct input. Equity in a company is leverage because growth benefits you without additional labor. Investments are leverage because time multiplies them. Even intellectual property can become leverage if it generates recurring value. The question changes from how much can I earn this month to what can I own that will grow over the next decade. Patience becomes essential because exponential curves start slowly. In the early years, capital growth feels insignificant. The labor line looks steeper at first. That is why most people abandon the curve too soon. They return to what feels productive, working more. But the math rewards those who endure the quiet phase. Compounding is invisible until it becomes undeniable. The deeper truth is not motivational, it is structural. You cannot grind your way into exponential freedom using a linear model. You cannot outwork mathematical limits. The solution is not more effort, but better allocation of effort. Work to create capital. Use capital to create leverage. Allow leverage to create scale. When you understand this, guilt fades. The feeling of being stuck transforms into clarity. You realize the plateau was predictable. You see that exhaustion was not a badge of honor but a signal. The system did not fail you, and you did not fail yourself. You simply reached the boundary of linear growth. The final shift is philosophical. The goal is not to stop working. Meaningful work matters. The goal is to choose work rather than depend on it. When capital begins covering portions of your life, pressure decreases. Decisions become proactive instead of reactive. You can take risks without fear. You can rest without panic. You can say no without collapse. Just work harder sounds powerful, but it ignores the shape of the curve. Hard work is a tool. Capital is a multiplier. When you combine them intentionally, effort stops feeling like a treadmill and starts feeling like construction. You are not running faster. You are building something that runs on its own. Once you see the difference between linear income and exponential capital, the advice changes permanently. You still work, you still strive, but you stop measuring progress only by hours and paychecks. You measure it by ownership and compounding. And that shift is not emotional, it is mathematical.